and a big good afternoon to, do I pronounce it Reina?
Yeah, it's Reina, yes.
Reina. And what are you going to play for us this afternoon, Reina?
So today I will play Chant de Linos by Jolivet.
Okay, excellent. And we're doing it unfortunately without piano. Are you preparing this for a particular concert or exam or?
Yes, I'm preparing this for my last exam in my final year in high school. And it's also, I'm planning to use it as a piece to get into an academy.
Excellent, excellent. Good. So when are those auditions, and when is the exam?
So the exam, of course, because of COVID, the dates are not yet fully known, but it's in May, and the other entry exam is at the end of June.
Okay, good. So we've got a little while. How long have you been working on the piece? Is it a piece you've performed already?
No, it's not a piece I've performed. I started working on it actually in the summer, but it was more like an overlook because, of course, I had a competition in the middle and I had all these other pieces to work on. But I've been really working on it the last month. Of course, it's been parallel with piccolo work, but yes, that's how long I've been working on it.
Excellent. Good. Well, let's start at the top. I would suggest that we get to at least maybe the 7/8 dance, halfway through page 3.
Yep.
Let's aim to get through to there and talk about that, and then we can move on a little further, okay?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm just going to take a seat, enjoy my concert position. Enjoy! Great, good, good. So let's work on that passage until there, and then we'll pick it up again in a moment from the 7/8 dance. Good, so can you tell me something about this piece, what it means to you when it was written, something about the story?
Well, I do know that there are two possible stories. Since it's taken from Greek mythology, which usually was carried by like mouth and like talking, and it wasn't written down really. So I know that one of the stories is that Linos, he was the daughter of a princess, and he was a son of that princess, and an illegitimate son. So when he was born, he was left in the woods to die in a very violent way. And the other one is that his student Heracles asked to sort of like duel with him, and because Linos was better than him, then Heracles killed him with a lyra. So it also was a violent way. So I know that this is really sort of a story about his violent death. And I know that it talks about the trenos, which is, this is like a trenos. And where I think it's like a trenos is because it's about his death, where this song was written after his death to sort of, in these sad parts, to mourn him, but in the sort of happy, crazy dance, it's like, oh, we're celebrating you, like don't kill us. Like it's basically for the soul of Linos, so you wouldn't kill him. So good. That's sort of what I've
Excellent.
heard.
Yeah, no, excellent. You've obviously done some very thorough research, which is excellent. So, based on a very ancient Greek myth, do you know when it was written?
The myth itself?
No, the Jolivet piece.
Oh, it was 1944 for the competition.
Exactly, 44. It was the year that Rampal did his end exam. And I wonder, of course, it's wonderful to know the ancient Greek side of the story, but I wonder if we take a step back and can look at this in an even broader perspective, given the year it was written. So when 1944, the world was a pretty horrific place at that time, of course, as we all know. And so I wonder whether there's an element of Jolivet looking at this ancient myth and saying, but it's so modern as well. So he's taking the modes, the scales, the ancient, which gives it this exotic ancient air, and he's making it very relevant to today. And I think if we can see this piece as being an awful death, as you rightly described, and then perhaps the different phases of grieving. And so we have this music which is very sectionalized. For me, the opening section is the pow moment. That is when perhaps the death occurs. And then all the phases after that are something reflecting on that gruesome, violent death, or experienced collectively the devastation that humanity suffered in 1944.
Yes.
I studied this when I was a student in Paris. I studied this with Alain Marion, who you may know was also a very good friend of Jean-Pierre Rampal. And this was a piece which Marion used to perform a lot and loved, was very close to his heart. He said to me at the beginning, the first statement, if you like, your first gesture, take your time. Give us the chance to understand what the tonality is, these strange exotic intervals, the C sharp, A flat. I think that you rushed a little too much through that, which took you little by surprise that where we started. Of course, in a concert situation, that would be different. But I think you can take your time over that first sentence, maybe a little more movement in the second sentence, and then the third sentence go. That can be the energy you had. Now, I'm saying take a little more time. What I mean in practical terms is play it slower. But of course, with this very charged energy.
Okay.
And in that context, I wonder, are these trills, of course, especially that first one is very horrible trill to have to trill.
I agree.
But I wonder, aren't these trills after the fortissimo accented quarter note, maybe the trill is something more like a trembling rather than something rather vocal as you did. So let's see if we can get that little finger moving. The second and third trills are less problematic, of course. But let's try that whole beginning one more time. And I'm going to give you one more tip, and that is to use the bar's rest. Marion used to say, draw your energy in for those bars. And then you can release. Okay? So really use that moment to draw energy from the air around you. Let's try from the top, including the first bar. So give yourself a chance to listen to the piano in your head. Excellent. Good. Just until there for the moment. Much better. So I felt a much stronger distinction between the silent bars when you're drawing the energy to you, and then the bars where you were giving that energy out. That was much, much better. I still, if I'm honest, I didn't feel the trembling sensation of the trill.
Maybe we'll try harder.
Let's do the second trill. Can you give me the second accent and see?
From the C sharp? That one?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good. Just until there. One more time. Can you start the trill so we have a quarter note accent, fortissimo diminuendo to piano, and then as soon as you get to the second beat, then a fast trill. So, bam! That's the one. I think this is the meaning of these trills. I don't think they're vocal trills. You know, like you would in a, I don't know, in more lyrical piece. Even though it's on a long note, I think it's a reaction. It's your knees shaking, which maybe your knees are shaking. Mine are a little bit. And we should feel that sort of energy on the second beat, okay? So we're taking away the dynamic and we're adding the thrill of the trill. The thrill of the trill. Okay, good. Now, one of the reasons why we tend to want to play this beginning a little let's say too fast for our ear or the ear of the listener to pick up. Imagine someone is hearing this for the first time. They need to understand the mode that we're playing in. So the reason why we tend to play it too fast is because of the breathing. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah. So I think in the first phrase we can do the first 2 bars in one breath easily, right? In the second phrase, I wouldn't mind too much if you breathed maybe on after the second long C sharp. It wouldn't disturb too much. And then maybe in the last phrase, after the F trill going to the G, then we could breathe there. Okay? Would just be a suggestion if that is a reason why you were going a little too fast. Just help the listener to understand which mode we're in for the beginning.
Okay.
Now, let's look at those 3 bars which written a piacere at the end, which suggests a sense of freedom, doesn't it? Yeah. But at the same time, he gives us bar lines, he gives us rhythms. So I'm going to suggest that one way of looking at it could be seeing these 2 anchor points, the notes with the grace notes, as being almost like a magnet, if you like. And the closer you get to a magnet, the faster you go, and the more difficult it is to leave.
Okay.
So let's just try it directly from that a piacere. No, I want to say one more thing about the 2 bars before that. Are you hearing the piano in your head?
Yes.
It's also playing the 16th notes here. Di, do, 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 di. Can you imagine that your sound is fitting into the piano at this point? So I would suggest here not too much vibrato. There are lots of places where we can play with vibrato and use it very expressively as a device. But here I think it's almost like a blown piano sound.
Okay.
Can we start directly from the where those 16th notes start? Okay. Good. But can we make that really a sense of being 3 bars? So it's not just 2 gestures, but it's across 3 bars. The color is going from quite intense to quite hollow.
Okay.
Good. So the second A flat is not that important.
Okay.
It's in a chromaticism. It's lurking around the G, but it's not an important thing in itself. Last time, and then this time we'll go on to the a piacere.
Okay. So when I go on, I keep playing through the. Yep. Okay.
Excellent, good. So I liked very much your feeling of direction towards the magnet, but you know, if you have 2 parts of the magnet, it's quite difficult to get away from each other. So I would like to feel a little reluctance as you leave the long note, that you're not too much in a hurry to play the notes afterwards.
Okay.
Dee da 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 dee da da da. Yep. Let's try from a piacere directly. Excellent, good. What kind of vibrato are we going to use in this place? Are you thinking about the type of vibrato you're using?
I don't really know. I feel like just leaving a straight note maybe would be too stiff, but I think I was using too wide of a vibrato maybe.
It seemed, I mean, it's difficult to tell, to be honest, you know, with the distance, but for me it felt a little slow and wide, and I wonder whether it could just be a little bit more contained within the note. But I leave you to think about that another time, because I think in the next passage we can talk a little more about vibrato. So if I asked you to draw the shape of this passage, how would you draw it in terms of a line?
I don't know, I would try to keep it quite smooth and just never ending, just something along those lines.
Smooth and never ending. In which direction? In the sense of you... Yes, because when you said smooth and never ending, it did this. But I would like to imagine that this whole passage is building forward, up and up and up, and it's only at the very end, in the last bar, really, that he has the diminuendo down to the piano again.
Yes, okay.
So he marks the first phrase mezzo forte, second phrase più forte, then the third phrase forte. So it means that maybe this first mezzo forte, maybe think of that more in terms of a mezzo piano, so that we keep that continuity even through the long notes at the end of the phrase. It's more difficult when you don't have a pianist to help you.
I know.
But let's try. So we go from A.
Okay.
Keep going. Keep going. And back. Good. Couple of little details for you to think about. What dynamic did you really get to at the end?
On the G, on the last G?
The last note.
I mean, I was trying for piano, but maybe it was...
It seemed, piano. I mean, maybe it's the microphone, maybe it's the headphones, I don't know. But for me, it felt quite substantial. And I wonder whether, given what we've got coming up at letter B, mm-hmm. which is, again, a very dramatic moment, maybe you can disappear a little bit more into something, a softer, kind of more delicate piano there. And on the other side, I would have liked your forte to be a little bit more. And I was wondering whether I've got in my part marks an extra breath between the first and second note of the last line. Between the B and the C.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Da da dee da 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 dee da da. As long as you keep the phrase continuing, I think that's not a problem at all. We have the little breath marked in the next bar.
Yes.
But I would have liked this forte to really arrive a little bit more at a more powerful sound.
Okay.
But what do these tenutos mean? Because I'm not feeling the pull of these tenutos yet. So if we think of the beginning... Maybe could have a more compact sound, maybe less vibrato, something that feels a little more, let's say, nasty.
Okay. Yeah.
Little bit more
Okay.
sound on those notes, because it must mean something why he wrote those lines there.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't really hear them as being more nasty than the rest of it. So we'll just do the very first 2.5 bars again, and then we'll continue.
Okay.
Reina, what about taking a little bit of the center out of the sound for the first 3 notes?
Okay. Yeah, I did notice it after starting.
So it's going from O sound to E sound on the tenuto notes. Yeah? Try one. Good. If you could I'll leave you to explore it a little bit more, but I feel as if the vibrato is coming a little bit too much out of the sound. I would like it to be a little bit more contained within it. I'm exaggerating, forgive me, but so maybe it's a tiny bit louder, maybe it's a tiny bit harder in color, more of the E vowel instead of the O vowel, and maybe no vibrato or something like that. But I think these 2 sounds could be more contrasted, but I'll leave you to explore that. For me, it seems a little bit, the vibrato seems a little too heavy in this context.
Okay.
Yeah? But let's jump now on to B, because it's a big piece with lots of detail. Don't want to get too bogged down, but let's continue from B. Excellent, good. So again, this is a more reflective moment, or phase of grieving, if we like. It's of course a very different shape from the similar passage at figure A. So this time we have three crescendos which don't arrive where we think they're going. Yes?
Yes.
And it's only the 4th one, when we arrive on this B sharp, that is a crescendo which actually gets to where we hoping to go.
Oh, okay.
And the 3 times before then are all sort of moments of hope and then disappointment.
Yes.
And I think your crescendos are very good. And I wonder whether your diminuendos could have a little more, it sounds like a contradiction when I say more power. I mean more
More of the diminuendo.
meaning,
Yeah.
more deliberate.
Okay.
Again, I don't know how it sounds in the room with you. On my headphones, it sounds a little present. And I wonder whether this could be all a little bit more like a dream sort of scenario.
Okay.
If we take the parallels with grieving further, maybe you've lost someone dear to you and you're dreaming about seeing them.
Okay.
And then you wake up. And then you dream about seeing them and you wake up. Disappointment. And you dream and disappointment again. And then the 4th time you have a wonderful dream that you're actually together.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, or something like this, so that there's a little bit more emotion behind your diminuendos.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the crescendos happen very naturally, and the softer you play, the more you want to use some of your air, right?
I agree. Yeah.
And again, see if you can find another meaning for these tenuto markings. Can they be a little bit more... have a little more weight to them, a little bit nastier, like someone's pressing,
Okay.
being a little bit more mean on those. And then the softer sound around that could be a little more, a soft, delicate sound which will respond more easily to vibrato, actually.
Okay.
Yeah? Let's try one more time, this passage at C. Before then was excellent, by the way. Yes, sorry, Reina, I hear you landing on the B sharp, but it's yari-ro, yari-ro. Here and back. Okay, good. But don't dig into that low E. You've got plenty of opportunities in this piece to show that you've got a fabulous low register. This is not one of those moments. So stay in this. The color that you got to was great. So we've got the tenuto, but it's the start of a crescendo. So if you already dig into that E too much, then there's nowhere for the crescendo to happen, right? Yes. Can you just show me your C sharp, a nasty, mean C sharp, the first one, and a B sharp afterwards? So mean and nice. And as soon as you can get some life into that B sharp, I mean vibrato, the better. Yeah? Okay. One more time from C. Excellent. Really fantastic. Very nicely done. So play with the dynamics, he writes. Play with the intensity of the sound and play with the vibrato. So it's no two notes are too static and too similar to each other, if you like.
Okay.
Having said that, resist the temptation in the first bar of C to crescendo to the C sharp.
Okay. Okay, yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
That's I think it's more powerful if you resist that temptation. And we'll come, hopefully we'll have time. Oh no, probably we won't have time. But the whole passage, the last passage in this atmosphere at R, letter R, this entire passage is about resisting the temptation to crescendo.
Yes, yes.
We have one crescendo diminuendo and then a diminuendo at the very end. So these three passages, see if you can get them really having a different meaning from one another. So that first one, the continuing, never letting the long notes collapse in any way, that continuous building line, building until just the very end where the diminuendo comes in. The one we've just done with the 3 times hopeful disappointment.
Yes.
And then this last one at R is all completely passive, and that takes a lot of energy, especially when you've just played the whole piece. And this comes near the end, so you'll be physically quite tired. Yes. So you need to be very, very conscious in that last passage of resisting the urge to play those crescendos. Yeah?
Yes. Okay.
We probably won't have time, to be honest, to get to that passage. And I'm going to trust at the moment that that whole passage from D will be fine.
Yeah.
Shall we do directly from letter E?
Letter E.
Okay. And yes, let's go directly from there. I won't give you too much. That's a pity. To change character just at the end.
Okay.
Can you think of this music at E as being more like 2/4 music? What did I just do? And then this silence, the 8th note rest, and then the piano afterwards. That's where the drama happens.
Okay.
So no diminuendo and change of character in the 3rd bar of E.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try once again, directly E. Okay, good. Sorry
It's okay.
to interrupt you just at that moment. From the low D, have you ever played, I think Bozza Image?
Yeah, no, not that one, no.
Bozza Image, it starts with these little arabesques growing from a low E, I think it is. Doesn't matter. In this context, we got a piano low D, and then we explore to a G sharp and come back. A little bit like L'après-midi d'un faune, the other way around. The second one, we go to a C and come back. And then the third time, we throw it in the air and get to the top D.
Okay.
But always coming back to that low D, which is expectant. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Thrilling. Let's go directly from that piano low D. Little arabesque to G sharp and back. Little arabesque to C natural and back. And then throw it in the air. Reina, can you just play me the low D? Just the outline notes. Excellent. All the other notes fit into this shape. Okay. Because you're being too good a flute player. You're playing better flute player than I am. You're digging the low D.
Okay.
But keep the D expectant. And then we've got somewhere to go to the top D.
Okay.
One more time.
Sorry, can I do it again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Just the third one is fine.
Okay.
Great. Now, of course, we have to breathe in these rests, but the music doesn't stop. Okay. The breath is part of the music. One more time.
The third one?
Yeah. Better. I still think you can make that better connected. So can you practice that in the days and weeks to come, that you try and connect, not literally, but musically connect the top D to the E flat D coming afterwards. Okay. At the moment it sounds like you get to the top D, oh, and then, by the way, E flat D. Okay? It should be, we should carry the music across the rest. And the pianist isn't there to help you. Yes. Okay, right, let's get on with the dance then. I'm not sure I agree with you saying it's a happy, what did you say? Something.
It wasn't like a happy. It's this crazy, energetic.
Yes, okay.
That was better
Crazy,
word.
energetic is good.
Yes,
Not
I
so
didn't
much
mean
happy.
happy. Yes, okay.
Great. Okay, let's just talk about this moment. Firstly, the grace notes. Their function, I think, is to increase the sense of rhythmic power. Dum, brum, 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 bum, brum, 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 bum, brum, brum. If you spread them out, if you play them too slowly, what it does is it blurs the rhythm.
Oh, okay.
Bum, blum, 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 blum. And we don't really understand where the rhythm is, where the strong beats are and how the beats are structured. So I like to think of it being really like a little, maybe like a snare drum. Brum, brum, brum,
okay.
Brum,
Okay.
Brum, brum. When you played it, have you played this with piano, by the way?
Yes, I have.
You have. So if you watch the pianist playing this gesture, or it almost goes too fast for the eye to be able to discern them putting the weight on the second finger or the fourth finger.
Okay.
Brum, 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 brum. So it's a very compact gesture. Of course, you have to play all the right notes, but I don't care if you play the wrong notes.
Yeah.
It's more it's the gesture which is so important.
Yeah.
And at the moment, all of those grace notes are sounding too slow and too. I don't really mean lazy and sloppy, but
yeah, but I get it. I get it.
It can be have more bite.
Okay.
Show us your teeth in those moments, not literally, of course. Now we don't have a pianist with us, but when you have your pianist, between G and H, the important bars are the repeated notes, the thematic da 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 da. This is the dialogue. The triplet music slurred, unfortunately, is the least important passage. Okay. So that can be lighter, more transparent.
Okay.
But I need twice as much sound in the second bar of G. So when we imagine where you have the pianist takes your theme at G.
Yes.
And you say, no, that's my theme. Okay. And you snatch it back. Okay, a little bit more assertive in that bar. And it will help you if you play the first and third bar of G a little bit less.
Okay.
More transparent. Now he writes 120 and of course 120 is a little impractical, I think. Are you doing single tonguing or double tonguing?
I'm doing double tonguing, but I'm also not playing the full tempo yet.
No. I understood. I've got in my pencil, I've got written 114. So I think it's absolutely fine for it to be a little slower because as long as we get the energy, it will sound, lively enough, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
I would encourage you, maybe not now, but in the days and weeks to come, to try single tonguing for the first 5 notes of each bar. So that just has a little bit more bite to it, if you can.
Okay.
So particularly the second 8th note of these bars could have a little more bite. It's very easy for these to sound a little too light.
Okay. Yeah.
And we want to avoid that, of course. Good. Well, this material comes back in a moment. So let's carry on from the top of page 4.
Okay.
Now this is a mezzo forte moment. I think Jolivet is one of those composers who doesn't like using mezzo piano very much. But I think if we think of mezzo piano and mezzo forte as being more or less interchangeable in the context of this piece, I don't think he uses ever mezzo piano in this piece, if I'm not mistaken. So if you take every mezzo forte to mean something like mezzo piano, then this is a passage of 4 bars with no dots, with no accents, with no tenutos, no crescendos, except the last one. So this is all very cool and understated. As energetic as the other passages are, this is very distant and as if you're observing what's happening to someone else.
Okay.
And the rest of the dance, you're in the middle of it.
Okay.
And thrilled by it. Okay, let's do directly from this, the third bar of I, the top of page 4? 4th bar. Reina, there are no dots. Dim bum tom 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 ta dim tom tom da. Dim dom tom 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 tom. Give yourself a chance. Good. It can generally be all 1 notch softer.
Okay.
But I want twice as much crescendo at the end, if you can.
Okay, I'll try that.
Much better, much better. I think you can find. I'm not feeling really the distance yet. I want to feel that you're. Oh yes, they're all angry and having this very wild and crazy dance, and I just don't think that having a silly dance is really suitable or something like that. Something a little bit more distance in this way.
Okay.
And then at the last bar, you think, hey, I'm going to join in.
Okay.
Okay, good. So I'll leave you to figure that out. Let's continue from J.
Sorry. Last note, I promise.
Good. Yeah. Take us into that last note, L.
Okay.
And a really full length eighth note in this tempo is not so short.
Okay.
Can you do? No, I leave you to do slowly 2 bars before L. Dee da da dee.
I know I can't. I messed up the first 4 sort of eight notes there, so I know that.
No, okay. But I'm just wondering if I can do anything to help you. How do you play the top B sharp?
B. Well, all of the. Like,
because. I would take the thumb off for that top B sharp.
Oh, B, okay.
And then remember that A sharp doesn't have to have the trill key. It also works if you just play the first finger.
Okay. The A sharp?
A sharp, the top B flat. Yeah?
Okay.
If that helps.
Okay. Probably gonna have to practice to understand.
Yes. Yeah. It's fiddly bar.
Yeah.
But I think those will help you. And so the top A sharp doesn't need to have the trill key.
Okay.
You can just play with the first finger. The top B sharp you can do like a trill fingering. How would you trill from top B to C?
Yeah.
Just take your thumb off.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That will help that. And the same with the E to F sharp.
E to F sharp. Mm-hmm.
Of course, it sounds horrible slowly, but in the context, I think that will be much easier to manage than. So just take your thumb off for the F sharp. With those 3 little cheat fingerings, that'll be much more manageable because that needs to be absolutely rock solid.
I know it does.
Yeah.
I have a question in general. What would you suggest for cleaning out places like that? Because when I was playing with my accompanist, we were really trying to do all the real tempos, and I've sort of through that messed it up. So what would be your suggestion?
I would literally take 1 bar a day and really figure out what is the problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is it really fingers? Is it the airspeed? So practice left hand alone, practice right hand alone. Of course, it will sound strange, but just to practice so that you can use visualization, so you can imagine how your fingers are moving. I would also practice with the wrong airspeed.
Okay.
So you get used to the feeling of how your fingers are moving without every time using the airspeed.
Okay.
And practice it upside down, practice it back to front, practice it in rhythms. It needs to be absolutely as that needs to be your favorite bar. Let's say.
Okay.
when you come to perform it, that one. So 2 bars before L, and then the other one is the 4th bar of O.
4th bar of O.
of
Yeah.
O in the next page,
Yeah.
and the one bar before P.
Yeah.
Those, it's actually when you look at it, those are the four most difficult bars of the piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, don't try and make today's problem one bar before P. And tomorrow's problem can be, so that you really give yourself the time to dissect and analyze what is the problem.
Okay.
Because usually it's between 2 notes, sometimes between 3 notes. And figure out, is there something in that first one? I've given you those little fingering tricks. In the second one, of course, you use the trill key from the G to G sharp. And I would use both trill keys for the E.
Yeah.
In this tempo, it sounds horrible, but in when you're going in tempo, that's fine. And one bar before P, there's nothing.
Yeah.
In terms of helpful fingerings.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
that one just needs
Good work.
dissecting.
Yeah.
Good, but let's, in the last 2 minutes, just give me your sound. Show me your forte ben cantando sound at L.
In which, where?
L for London?
Okay. It
Just
just
what we
cut
got
out
to.
a little bit, so yeah.
Okay. Great. I like very much how you're playing the small notes.
Okay.
They sound like, in a good way, almost like ornamenting the melodic line. I thought it was a pity that you breathed after the long G, 2 before M.
Yeah.
In my part, I've penciled in a breath mark before the G. I think that would be less disturbing.
Okay.
So this whole passage, I would practice without the small notes. And really get that singing through, and then add the decoration.
Okay.
My visualization in this passage is something to do with, in a lot of Middle Eastern cultures, or let's say Eastern European cultures going into the Middle East, it is sometimes still, but certainly was a tradition that mourners for a funeral procession would be hired in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you would rent mourners, right?
Yeah.
And these are the people who can cry the best, who can wail the best, who can be the most dramatic. This person is so missed. They probably didn't even know the person, you know? So it's kind of, it's like they're the best actors in the world, that they are be able to cry and scream and mourn as if they knew the person. But there's almost an element of it not being very honest.
Yes.
So this is a sort of super intense sound.
Yeah.
Here I would use, maybe if you can, a faster vibrato and a very compact sound. So to reflect this forte ben cantando, very sung kind of color. So if you're a violinist, I would say, a lot of contact with the bow on the string and very intense.
Vibrato.
Without losing the resonance in our own body.
Okay.
Okay? So that will help us achieve this intensity. But I think we're going to have to stop there.
Yes. Okay.
Are there any questions, things that we've talked about today that you think, hang on a minute, what do you mean by that?
I don't think so. I think you explained everything very clearly. So, yes.
Well, if in the days and weeks to come, as you're working on it, there's something you find unclear, then please give me a shout, and I'd be
thank you.
happy to help. I think you're a wonderful, wonderful player. I think you could do even more to explore the different characters of sound, intensity, the as we talked about, the color of the sound, the vibrato, the speed of vibrato, the depth of vibrato. I think you can explore that much more. This is a wonderful invitation to explore that side of your playing, as well as being an invitation to explore the technical, more technical side of your fingering and so on. And I think you're well on your way with this piece. I think it's going to be really terrific. I would like you to think a little more about the story that you're telling. Of course, it's very difficult to tell a complete story when you're playing one flute line and we're missing so much the piano part and so on. But I think that's going to be terrific. So thank you so much, Reina.
Thank you. Thank you.